I lost my whole entire mind? It's very possible. Hi guys, what is up? Welcome back to my channel, welcome to a new vlog. I'm Lee from Mortgage Freely. I talk about money and mum life on the internet, and today we are talking about why I am taking a career break from my job. I mentioned this in the budget with me video and a lot of you wanted to know about it, as I thought you would. So I thought we'd do a little sit down video and just talk about how I got here, what the plan is, and what I'm hoping to achieve by having a career break. So just to set the scene, because I feel like understanding where I'm coming from is quite important in the sense of how I got here. So I'm 39, I'm actually 40 this year. In fact, is it next week? Maybe in 2 weeks, I'm 40. Big life milestone. Don't know how I feel about it if I'm being completely honest. But I had kids slightly later. I mean, it's probably not that late for modern times, but a lot of my friends had kids younger than me. So I have a 6-year-old and a just turned 3-year-old. So a young family considering I'm turning 40. And for a long time I didn't actually know if I wanted kids at all. Like, I really wasn't sure. Neither was my husband. It was a definite possibility that we could have been child-free by choice, but something changed. It was around my 30s. I might have been having a mini life crisis then. You'll see there's a theme when I reach a big milestone birthday. I tend to start making drastic life changes. Before I had my kids, I was really sort of work focused. I was actually the breadwinner in our household for a long time. And even after I decided to have kids, I thought I'm going to want to go back to work full time. I never saw myself becoming part time. I never saw work taking a backseat. I knew I didn't want to be a stay-at-home mom. Not that there's anything wrong with that whatsoever. It just wasn't for me. But like everything you think before you have children, almost all of it turned out to be entirely wrong. And when I had my first baby in 2019, I really struggled with my mental health. Like, I think I had undiagnosed postpartum depression, I had postnatal anxiety, my daughter didn't sleep, it was a whole thing. And I really struggled, and I really struggled when I went back to work. In some ways I enjoyed being back, I guess for a change of pace, but I always had this really strong feeling like I was in the wrong place. Even though in my rational mind I know that lots of moms go to work, lots of dads go to work, lots of parents go to work, and the other parent or someone else in the family or childminder or whatever looks after the children. I just couldn't seem to come to grips with the fact that if I was working on a weekend, my husband and daughter were existing and living without me, and I wasn't there. I felt like I was in the wrong place at work, and it just felt wrong. That's all I can say. And I was in a job back then where I worked shifts, that included late shifts and weekends, and I knew then that something had to change. And it's been a very gradual process getting to where we are now. So I went like a tiny bit part-time. I think I was working something like 35 hours when my usual hours were 40. And for a while that was fine, but in the background I was also trying to get off of those shifts and sort of unsociable hours. And eventually I got into a position where I was working more sort of steady hours, Tuesday to Friday. Then I got pregnant again with my son. And the whole experience was so much better, but when I went back to work again, I found it really hard. In the background, I built a kind of accidental income in social media content creation. So I was making some extra money from that, not as much as my salary by any means, but I was making some money from that, which meant that when I went back after my son, I was able to reduce my hours further, so I was just working 3 days a week. And as time went on, I wished I dropped my hours more. I just find the juggle of everything so hard as a mom, as a parent. There are honestly days where I feel like my brain could explode from the amount of things that I'm holding in it. Things that I need to do, life admin that needs doing, clothes washing that needs doing. What do the kids need? Anticipating everyone's needs. Where does everyone have to be? Has the car got petrol in it? Do we have enough money for petrol? Like, literally, I know anyone who's watching this knows exactly what I'm talking about. The logistics of being a working parent are insane. And what I think is really hard about reducing your hours at work is trying to reconcile that you're going to be making less money and trying to prioritise the fact that the goal when it comes to finances, or the goal when it comes to my finances, is not to have more stuff or more money. It's to be able to buy my time, be able to buy my freedom, I guess. Time freedom is the big goal for me. That is the purpose of everything I do when it comes to finances. And we talked about it, my husband and I. We ran the numbers and basically realised that I could afford to drop more hours. So I made a flexible working request. Each time I reduced my hours, I made a flexible working request. Obviously, I am in England. The rules will be different in different countries, but in England I had the right to make a flexible working request. Now, my job didn't have to agree it, but they did have to give a valid business case if they weren't going to agree it, and fortunately they agreed it, which is great. I'm very grateful for that. So over the course of maybe 4 years, I'd gone from being a child-free, full-time working woman, being the breadwinner in our household, to being a mum of 2, working 2 days a week, 20 hours a week. Because not only did I drop hours, I also condensed my hours, so I did 2 longer days. And in theory, this should have been the perfect scenario. So I had time with my son on a Monday. He doesn't go to childcare on a Monday. I worked my 2 long days at work that gave me a guaranteed salary. And the other 2 days I worked self-employed on content creation, making that additional income that allowed this whole thing to happen in the first place. But as you can probably tell by the fact that I'm making this video in the first place, it wasn't enough. Because the demands of having a young family, the logistics of having a young family, running a household, running a business, having a job are just insane. Like, my brain is so overloaded all the time. I'm trying to cram so much into a finite period of time, and it's frankly impossible. And my job is a public sector job. It's a 365 organisation, so there is no Christmas shutdown. And like most jobs, when it comes to school holidays, summer holidays, Christmas, there's no guarantee that you're going to get the leave to spend the time with your child, and I just found that really hard. I just find the idea of not being able to be off when my child is off school really hard, because I really miss my daughter ever since she started school. Like, I really miss her. So I started to take unpaid parental leave for things like the October half term, but again, it still has to be authorised. Your work still has to let you have that time off and say that they can afford for you to be on leave at that time, even if they're not paying you. So there's no guarantee that I was going to be authorised those times off. But essentially I was taking unpaid time off. So if you're in England, this is a statutory right, and this is the reason why I used it, to be able to increase the amount of time that I could be there with my kids, which is what I just wanted to do. It's like I said, I felt like I was in the wrong place. So it's kind of coping in that way. And I'd thought about a career break before, but the leap just felt that little bit too far, too scary. Because whilst I have a business and some additional income, if I'm being honest, being completely self-employed is not something that I particularly wanted to do. I am the most risk-averse person you will ever hope to meet. I like security over everything else. And that is why I've never tried to be full-time self-employed before, because that lifestyle and that pressure is just not for me. So obviously I'd had this thought in the background in the past. And then this summer just gone, I had the best summer with my daughter. Like, I was there for almost all of it. Some of it I took unpaid parental leave. So I got to spend most of the time with her, and I loved it. And then when I went back to work, I just started to feel like maybe I needed to try the idea of a career break. And my husband, I knew, would be on board. He's like probably too supportive, if anything. So I started to think about it seriously. And when I tell you I have pained over this decision, I am not joking. It has been stressful. Sleepless nights, crazy anxiety, going back and forth between should I not? Am I making the wrong decision? Will we be able to afford it? And if I'm being honest, the answer is I don't know. I really don't know. But I'm kind of in a now or never situation. This is probably one of the only times in my life where my work would allow me to take a career break because I have young children, and also probably one of the only times in my life where I have any chance of being able to support us financially through my side business. And ultimately I've decided to take the leap. So I know some of you are probably wondering, what is a career break? If you've ever heard, if you're in America, you'll know the term sabbatical. It's basically a break from my job. So I haven't left my job. I haven't resigned from my job. It's a scheme that's offered by my employer where they allow you to take a break in your career and still have a job to go back to. So this is the safest way I could take a break from work but still have the security of being able to go back to my job. And I do intend to go back to my job, if anyone's wondering. I don't see social media content creation being a long-term business that is going to see me through to retirement. I am not actually deluded. But I do think I might be able to manage for the amount of time I'm on this career break. So I applied for the career break. I had to fill out a form. I had to get my bosses to support it, which they did. I am very lucky to have good bosses. And eventually it was approved, and the career break will officially start in December. However, I had to take all of my remaining annual leave, which means that my last shift at work is actually next week, which is crazy. It's like 6 weeks from putting in the application to actually starting the process of starting the career break. So it's actually happened really fast, like from the decision to the application to the result and then starting my leave. It's been so quick. And the downside of that is that we haven't really been able to financially plan for it in the way I would like. The only thing I can compare this to is being on maternity leave, because obviously when I was on maternity leave, I took the full 12 months, so I had 3 months unpaid and 3 months on statutory maternity pay, which is basically nothing. And we planned like for a year, if not more, ahead of each of those periods to be able to financially afford that maternity leave. That has not happened here. It's just not been possible. So in my ideal world, I would have saved up to be able to fund this career break, but I haven't been able to do that. What I do have is money in my business account, because as you all know, if you see my budget with me videos, we didn't budget off of my business income. We just overpaid our mortgage or did investments. I put money aside for tax, but we didn't budget off it. So I have some money built up in my business account that's going to have to be our sort of emergency money. Now, obviously, I didn't just willy-nilly decide, oh yeah, I'm just going to go on a career break and have no guaranteed income without thinking about the finances. It's definitely been the main point of concern, stress, worry. Will I be able to afford it? Will we be able to afford it? I have a young family and I put a lot of pressure on myself, so I'm very worried about, am I going to be affecting my family with this decision? Now, obviously, I'm a family and finance content creator, so I'm all over my budget, our household numbers, so I've got a rough idea of where we stand at all times. And where I think we're at is that we will be able to fund the majority of our living costs off of my husband's salary, which is a great position to be in. He has a well-paying job. He doesn't get paid like crazy amounts of money or anything. I don't want you to think that I'm just living off some millionaire or something. It's definitely not the case. But he has a good income. So we're able to fund the majority of our sort of basic, not lavish living expenses off of his salary. And I will say that is partly because of the way we live. So we don't have cars on finance, we don't spend much money on clothing, we don't do lots of expensive activities. Like, there are a lot of lifestyle choices that also come into play in why we can afford to live off just his salary. What I don't think that we can afford out of his salary is our sinking funds. So if you've ever seen one of my budget with me's, the sinking fund is basically where we save up each month for one-off expenses that are going to happen throughout the year, but they're not bills. So we're talking like Christmas, birthdays, holidays, car insurance, car tax. We don't pay them monthly, we pay them annually. House insurance, all that sort of stuff. We currently put away £300 a month for holiday, £400 a month for like our essential sinking funds or everything else. But that is the part, that £700 is the part that I don't think we can afford out of his salary. And on top of that, we have just got our 30 funded hours for my son, which has reduced his childcare bill dramatically. And frankly, I can't afford to lose it. So I will need to make £195 per week, which is something like just over £10,000 a year, from my self-employed income. But because I'm self-employed, you can average it. So as long as I make on average £195 a week, which will be about £800 a month, that should allow me to keep my funded hours, keep my tax-free childcare, and cover those sinking funds after the tax money has come out. So that is the plan, is to try and meet those minimum earnings, just to keep us afloat financially. And I know that some people will be saying, well, why is your son going to be in childcare if you're not working? I am working. I can't afford not to work. But instead of being at my job where I have to be somewhere between this time and that time, I'll be able to be flexible. I can work around my kids. I can take my daughter out of some of her wraparound care. And in the future, I would like to potentially look at my son's childcare hours and maybe reduce those down before he starts school. But there's no solid plans for exactly how this whole thing is going to work. Like I said, it was less than 6 weeks ago that I put in the application in the first place. So it's very much a work in progress of how this is all going to happen. But needless to say, we will be reliant on me being able to make some money from content creation to keep us afloat financially. And finances are definitely the thing I'm worried about the most. I am used to having that steady paycheck. Yes, I only get paid half the amount that I used to get paid because I only work half the hours that I used to get paid, but it is a definite, like, it is coming in every month without fail. There is sick pay, there is holiday pay, there's dependent leave, there are pension contributions. All of that is going to be gone for the period of this career break, and that is terrifying to me. So if it's so scary, what am I doing it for? Well, as I said, I've just felt this pull to be able to be here more for the kids. I want to be there in summer. I want to be there for Christmas. I want to be there for half term. I don't want my daughter to have to go to wraparound care if she doesn't want to. But probably the main thing for me is I want to reduce the mental load. I want to reduce the amount of stuff that I'm trying to juggle all the time and increase the amount of time that I have to juggle it in. I want to be the mum who doesn't feel stressed when their kid wants to pack lunch because they have to remember to make it, remember to take it to school, find the time to make it, go to the shop and get the food. I mean, food shopping, and we literally don't have time to do a food shop. Like, we don't have time. Life is so busy that I feel like I'm constantly firefighting, just doing the bare minimum, like keeping on top of the laundry. It's got to the point where my life feels completely out of control, and I think I actually said in one of my early declutter videos that I feel like I need to have 6 months off my life just to be able to get back on top of it. And that is literally what I'm doing. Like, I'm taking time out of my career to try to get back on top of my life. And this just feels like the right time. I very much feel like, since having the kid, retirement feels backwards in a way. It feels like you work through these prime years of your life, and I know why, but it feels like you work through the time that would be the most valuable to be able to spend with your children. Like, while my kids are young, that is the time that I want to be able to spend with them. Not when I'm 60, 65, whatever age it's going to be by the time I get there. And my kids have grown up and I see them whenever I see them. Like, it's not then that I want the time, it's now. Turning 40 has definitely been a big part of the decision. My mum's mum, so my grandma, but I never met her, died of ovarian cancer when she was in her early 40s, and I'm about to turn 40. And if I'm being honest, I feel like I see a lot of people around me with serious health problems in their 40s and 50s. People who work where I work, passing away before they reach retirement age. Or I had a friend a couple of years ago who died not long after he retired. And that really hit me hard, you know. And I am not reckless in the sense of being someone who's like, YOLO, you only live once, maybe I won't live till I'm older, so I'm going to spend all my money now. That is not me. But what I don't want to do is be the person who saves and saves and saves and saves everything to plan for a retirement that might never come at the expense of the time that they do have. I don't want to be that person. I want to balance both. And at this point, I definitely feel like I'm just rambling. So I hope you're following me. But needless to say, turning 40 has definitely had some sort of influence in this decision. It feels like such a big life milestone. And after the last 5-6 years of struggling, to be honest, with my mental health, I'm definitely in a better place now than I was. But I want to fully heal and I want to spend some time on myself. Like, parents of the world know, as a parent to a young family, you literally have no time for yourself. And then on top of that, I'm an employee, I run a business. I feel like I'm always talking about things and be like, oh, when I have time, this is something I'd love to do. When I have time, this is something I'd love to do. I'd really like to do that when I get the chance. And the chance never comes, the time doesn't come, because there isn't any spare time. Between working, parenting, running the house, there's no spare time. So I would like to, I guess, find myself again after having kids. I've gained a lot of weight. So I'd like to get into some healthier routines. I've been saying for actual years, and I now own 2 books on the subject, that I want to be able to grow food. Like, I want to grow a vegetable. And as yet, I have done absolutely zero towards that goal. And I'm really serious about it, like I really want to do it. But I just don't have time. I don't have time to justify spending it doing that hobby over something else. And I'm so burnt out when I come home from work that my brain is just like fried and not in the zone to start trying to figure out how to garden. So these are the kind of things that I'm hoping or planning. Maybe I should stop saying I'm hoping it's going to happen, that I'll be able to do these things during this break time where I have a little bit more time for myself, for my hobbies, for my well-being. Like, well-being is a huge part of the reason I'm taking this break. And what I envisage to be the result of taking this break and taking this time and being able to invest in myself is that I'll be able to be a better parent, a better wife, a better person, and ultimately when I go back to work, a better employee. Because if you think of it like how during a working year, you start to get fed up and then you need to go on a holiday. So you go on your 1 week, 2 week holiday, you have that break, and you come back feeling like all of your goals and dreams and whatever are possible. They're all within reach and you've got that renewed motivation and you're ready to get back into things. This is the ultimate reset in that sense. So that's the plan. Honestly, I'm still scared. Honestly, I still don't know exactly what a week is going to look like. I don't know what our finances are going to look like. I don't know how it's going to feel because I have worked since I was 15, sometimes 2 jobs. So I'm not sure how it's going to feel not going to a workplace. There are definitely a lot of downsides to being self-employed, that is for sure. But I know that going into it. But what I will do is take you along on the journey. Not only will we be getting back to the decluttering because I just don't have time right now, I'm thinking about starting a series called the Career Break Diaries, where I basically vlog what I'm getting up to during a career break and, money, life, how it's going. So let me know if you're interested in that. And I will also keep you updated on the budget side of things in my Budget With Me videos. So for October and November, we shouldn't see any difference. I'm not sure about December. I don't really know how it's going to work. But certainly by January, you are going to see a very different budget with me. and it's going to be really interesting to see how we get on with the finances side of things and me being fully self-employed. But you'll be coming with me for the good, bad and the ugly. If there is anything you want to know about my career break, drop your questions in the comments. If there's anything you want to see while I'm on a career break, let me know. Whatever you do leave me a comment. You have no idea how much dropping a comment on a video like this can help a little channel like mine. I am Lee from Mortgage Free Lee. I talk about money and mum life on the internet. We do Aldi shop with me's, we do budget with me's, we sort my life out, and now you're going to get to see what happens when you have a life crisis when you turn 40. So if that sounds like something you'd like to watch, click subscribe, and I will see you on the next one.